The PSE-3000 is an OpenPNP pick-and-place machine. The communication between hardware and OpenPNP is possible thanks to the firmware. The firmware used by the PSE-3000 is RRF, RepRap firmware. We can check the configuration of the firmware and the status of the PSE-3000 by a web interface connecting to the machine via Wi-Fi. But first, let's go to the OpenPNP homepage to see something. On the homepage, there is a sort of introduction. Here we can find a link to the hardware. What in a computer we call a motherboard, in a pick-and-place machine we call motion controller. Most generically, we could say that a motion controller is a board and a firmware. This is for sure our case. If we scroll down, under Recommended Models, we see Duet Board plus RepRap firmware. This combination is defined as a formidable platform for OpenPNP, so we are starting with the right foot. We click on Firmware page. Here we have some information about the origin of this firmware, and we see that it is open source. We also see that the firmware has been ported to STM32 and LPC boards. Then we click on this link to go on our firmware. Here we can find our board, STM32F4 boards. Fly CDY V3. Here you can find a lot of information. Let's go back to the purpose of this video. We want to use the web interface. Our web interface is called Duet Web Control. We don't have to install or configure anything. Everything is already set up. We just need to connect to the PSE-3000 using a serial terminal, and we will tell it to enable the Wi-Fi connection and to connect to our router using our username and password. To do this, we will use Termite, a simple RS-232 terminal. In our folder, we have this program. It is zipped. We unzip it, and we launch it. I need to configure it with the right serial port. Device Manager tells me that the port for my RepRap firmware is COM28. Okay, Termite is now communicating with the PSE-3000. We need to input some G-code. Don't worry, in our PSE-3000 installation folder, there is a file with all the codes that you can copy and paste. We do this. Obviously, type your username and your password. After 5 to 10 seconds, the PSE-3000 will answer with the IP address that you need to use to connect to the firmware. I open a browser and I paste my IP, but pay attention. Do not write HTTP, otherwise the connection will not work. Just write the IP. A lot of information. Here we have a console. However, you have a console also in OpenPNP. Pay attention. Most of the configurations that we are interested in are done just in OpenPNP. However, here you have the possibility to configure the firmware. You can also read information about the status of the machine, like temperature, voltage, and so on. So, to connect the PSE-3000 with your Wi-Fi network and use the web interface was not so difficult. For today, we close here. I hope this was useful. We will meet for other tutorials. See you soon.